Hi, welcome to session number 5. We start off this session with this magical pond. This bowl out here represents a magical pond. This is about a village girl who wants to go to a temple and offer a certain number of flowers to the deity. The village girl has only 10 flowers with her, but she has pledged to offer more than 300 flowers to the deity. Now, while she is going to the temple, she comes across a magical pond where the number of flowers that she puts into the pond, the number gets doubled. So what she can do is, the 10 flowers that she has, she can put them into the pond, the flowers would get doubled. She can remove those flowers from the pond and once again put them into the pond, so the number would get doubled again. The question here is, she wants to offer more than 300 flowers to the deity and she has started off only with 10 flowers. So how many number of times, minimum, how many number of times would she have to perform this operation of putting the flowers into the pond and removing them and putting them again, so that she can achieve her target of putting or offering more than 300 flowers to the deity? You try and figure this one out while we come back and explain the basic concepts. Our 5th session is about indices. What do we really mean when we say indices? So when we say something like a raised to b, the effect of a raised to b is nothing but a multiplied by itself b times. So hence when we say 3 raised to the power 3, it is nothing but 3 multiplied by itself 3 times, and hence the answer is 27. So when we say a raised to b, a is called as the base and b is called as the index, other names for index being power and exponent. So a raised to b is nothing but a multiplied by itself b times. Now there are times when the value of b can be a fraction. So for example, if we have a raised to half, this is nothing but square root of a, and if a is not a perfect square, what it would mean is square root of a will not give you an exact integral value, and hence in such a case now, when you are taking the power as a fraction, this would be known as a surd. So a surd can be expressed as nth root of a, which cannot be exactly found. If nth root of a does not give you an exact integral value, then this would be known as a surd. So when we talk about indices and surds, they are more or less related to each other. The laws would be similar, just that when we talk about index and we say a raised to b, we do not really include b as a fractional number, or rather if b is a fraction, then that a raised to b is referred to as a surd. Having seen the laws of indices, let's move on to a few properties of indices. Let's look at the first one. Suppose we have a raised to m is equal to a raised to n. Then what can we conclude from this? Everyone would say then m is equal to n. The point is, yes, m is equal to n, but is it always true? For example, what if the value of a is equal to 1? 1 raised to anything would always be 1. Hence, is it necessary that m is always equal to n? So it's not necessary when a is equal to 1. Similarly, it's not necessary if a is equal to minus 1. Because if a is equal to minus 1, as long as the power is an even number, this would always be satisfied. So it's again not necessary that m is equal to n. Similarly, if a is equal to 0, this would always be true irrespective of the value of m and n. Hence, we cannot simply say a raised to m is equal to a raised to n, then m is equal to n. We need to add to it and say except if a is equal to minus 1, 0 or 1. Please note, I am not trying to say that if a is equal to minus 1, 0 or 1, m cannot be equal to n. M can still be equal to n, but it is not always necessary that m is equal to n if a is -1, 0 or 1, even if this is satisfied. Let's move on to the second property. Suppose we have a raised to m is equal to b raised to m, and it is mentioned that m is odd. If it is mentioned that m is odd, then by default a will always be equal to b. So if a raised to m is equal to b raised to m and m is odd, then a has to be equal to b. A slight variation. If a raised to m is equal to b raised to m and m is even, in this case we cannot say that a is always equal to b. A can be equal to plus or minus b. So if a raised to m is equal to b raised to m, but now if m is given as an even number, then a can either be equal to b or a can also be equal to minus b. Let's look at a fourth property. Suppose we have a raised to m, the whole raised to n with these brackets, versus a raised to m raised to n without any brackets now. Are these the same? So if I put in some values, suppose I say 3 raised to 2 the whole raised to 5 versus 3 raised to 2 raised to 5. These are not the same. In fact, the way we would calculate this left hand side part, it would become 3 raised to 10 by using laws of indices, but this part would become 3 raised to 32. So we cannot say that these two are the same. The way these are calculated, they would be different. In this case, the power of a would be m into n, and in this case, the power of a would be the entire value of m raised to n. These are a few properties of indices which can be very helpful in problems. Let's see how to compare two surds. As we had discussed earlier, any number which is of the form a raised to m, where m is a fraction, and if a raised to m cannot be computed exactly as an integer, then we call that as a surd. So let's compare two surds. Suppose we want to compare fourth root of 2 and fifth root of 3, and we want to know which of these two is greater. So when we look at these two numbers, we cannot immediately say which of these two is greater. We need to follow a certain process to compare surds. The first step in the process, we would write this in terms of 2 raised to 1 by 4 and 3 raised to 1 by 5, which is nothing but using one of the laws of indices. Now, even after this, if we want to compare these two, the only way of doing it is by equating these powers. The power here is 1 upon 4 and the power here is 1 upon 5. And the way we would equate the powers is by taking the LCM of 4 and 5, which is 20. So we can write this as 2 raised to 5 upon 20 without changing the value. And we can write this as 3 raised to 4 upon 20, once again without changing the value. If we again use another law of indices, we can write this as 2 raised to 5, the whole raised to 1 upon 20, and this one as 3 raised to 4, the whole raised to 1 upon 20. Now that we notice that the power in both the cases is 1 upon 20, our answer would simply depend on whether 2 raised to 5 is greater or 3 raised to 4 is greater. When we look at 2 raised to 5, we know the value is 32. When we look at 3 raised to 4, we know the value is 81. So obviously 2 raised to 5, the whole raised to 1 upon 20 is less than 3 raised to 4, the whole raised to 1 upon 20. So if we now go back to our first step, we can say that fourth root of 2 is less than fifth root of 3. But the entire process or the entire solution depends on creating the same power by following this particular process. if we have an expression of the form a plus 2 root b, how do we find the square root? Let's try and understand this. So you have a plus 2 root b and we need to find the square root of this. Let's try and understand this through an example. Suppose we have an expression 7 plus 2 root 12 and we want to find the square root of this expression. Now it is simplest to find the square root when the entire expression under the square root sign is a perfect square. So our entire approach would be, is there any way of converting this into a perfect square? So let's try and see how to do that. We can write this as 3 plus 4 plus 2 root 12. Now what was the logic of doing this? We are trying to write this as a square plus b square plus 2ab, which would mean we are writing it as 3 plus 4 plus 2 root 3 into root 4, and now if we make use of our formula of a plus b the whole square, this would actually get simplified to root 3 plus root 4 the whole square. So we started off with 7 plus 2 root 12 and we've expressed that given expression in terms of root 3 plus root 4 the whole square. So now if we find the square root of this, it is very simple, which would be root 3 plus root 4. Now this is the actual traditional way of solving this, but if you were to use a shortcut here, going back to the original expression, the trick involved here is you need to look for two numbers whose sum is 7 and whose product is 12. So the two numbers whose sum is 7 and whose product is 12 would be 3 and 4, and hence square root of this would be nothing but root 3 plus root 4. The only point we need to remember here, the expression has to be in terms of a plus 2 root b. If the expression is not in terms of a plus 2 root b, we first put it in the form a plus 2 root b and then we follow this same rule. Look for two numbers whose sum is a and whose product is b, and then just express it as square roots of the individual two numbers, and the sign in between would depend on whether it is plus or minus, and we accordingly adjust the sign here. So just to sum up, if we go back to our village girl and the magical pond, you can see that there were 10 flowers that she started off with, and she wanted to actually offer more than 300 to the deity. The solution to this question is based on indices, which we've just studied. So she had 10 flowers with her, and the moment she would put in 10 flowers into the pond, the number would double and it would become 20, and she could remove these 20 and put them back again, and that number would double again and it would become 40. So the solution here depends on indices. The question was, if at each stage it is going to double, how many times will she need to perform this operation so that this value would become greater than 300, because she wished to offer at least 300 flowers to the deity. The answer here would be n is equal to 5, because 2 raised to 5 would be 32, and when she does this 5 times, she would end up with more than 300 flowers. I am sure most of us would wish that such a magical pond would be available to us so that we could put in our money and achieve this doubling, or maybe in your case as students, you would wish such a pond was available where you could put in your marks and double them so as to get the maximum benefit out of it.